Precision farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. Terraplex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag drone technology and support from Terraplex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with Terraplex Ag. Visit TerraplexAg.com.
Hello, welcome to Williams and Blum here on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network. My name is Chris Williams, messing with my microphone, and he is Brent Blum. It has been a wild week. We are recording this on Friday, and I'm just telling Aiden right now because I forgot to tell him off the air. I think we want to just release this, mainly because of the timeliness of the topic that we're talking about. We may as well get it out there.
People will be driving. They'll be driving.
Yeah, and this gives people holiday travel content to listen to. But so there will not be a Sunday pod as the holiday weekend, and I'm going to try and get away for a few days before I come back to this monstrosity of a house that I'm living in. And Bloom's got some holiday stuff as well. We're giving everybody a little bit of time off. So with that, we are presented by our friends at Mechdyne, the Mechdyne Corporation, and we are in the Wild Rose Casino Studios here. And I will be drinking some Cody Road on Saturday, as long as the Ames Lager that will be flowing at Jack Trice Stadium. For old George Strait, you think we can get George to just sip on an Ames Lager by our friends at West O when he's up on stage? What are the chances?
I sent out a tweet to both him and Stapleton.
Oh.
And either they got it and they're not responding or they didn't get it. So I'm going to try again. Maybe they'll surprise me. But
I mean, there are
why
few
not?
people in the world who are bigger George Strait fans than me. You've known this. You've known me a long time. I have a hard time believing that the king is checking Twitter at 71 years of age.
Yeah, it's probably true.
Just find it hard to believe.
What about
Norma? You want to hand me my phone? I got to check the tweeter. I just can't. I can't see it happening. So,
I mean, it would make sense if he drank an Ames Lager while in Ames.
I agree. It would make complete and total sense.
So,
and he'd put on a show too. You know.
Okay, so let me ask. Let's play a game. Will there be a reference to the Cyclones in some capacity?
Absolutely.
Somebody's wearing a jersey. Somebody's doing something, right?
I don't know about a jersey. These don't seem like the.
Well,
maybe little douche town might wear a jersey, but
what about
I can't imagine.
The hard body guy, Tim McGraw? He had.
Yeah, but he's a jersey guy.
Okay.
George Strait ain't wearing no jersey.
He's not. Doesn't have the
Chris
same.
Stapleton, not really a jersey guy either.
No Rocco Becht. I mean, well, maybe we'll be surprised.
Bring Jaden Higgins up on stage to shotgun a beer.
Right.
Like,
yeah, who would be the one?
God, could you imagine the Pollard box when that starts?
Jamie's going to be there, I'm pretty sure.
I would think he would be. He seems very excited about this.
Yeah,
he seems very. He was. I talked to him shortly after they booked it, and he was fired up. Like he was, because they had been trying to get a show like this for a while. It sounds like, and it's just from what I understand, the economic. This is another one of those Sci-Town conversations. It's just hard to get stuff to Ames now because Des Moines has blossomed so much over the last 20 years. Where it used to be, before Wells Fargo, like Hilton and Jack Trice were like the premier destinations for this stuff.
Yeah. What'd you do to your mic? You sound like you're in a cave all of a sudden. I mean, I'm not going like Chris Hassel on you here.
That should
there
be
you
better.
go. There you
go.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate that. I don't have my studio because it's underwater. So just
not my fault.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm trying to do all this like work in the kitchen, and the kids were home from school today. And it's just been I know you're feeling the same thing, brother. I'm preaching to the choir here.
We're powering Bondurant this morning.
I've been up since 4. Got up to do severe weather coverage on Iowa Everywhere, which is taking us back to. I told Amber today that we need to get you in on this because you did some severe weather coverage back at Cyclone Radio Network affiliate KMA Radio back in the day. We were awesome with that.
Well, the only reason I liked going in to do that is because we lived in an apartment together, but it didn't have a basement, and so I was terrified. I'm like, if I'm going out, I'm going
Such a
out in the
wuss.
studio. Now I got a basement. It's very comfortable. I got TV.
I would give anything to pull some old KMA radio tapes of you and me doing real
Severe weather coverage.
because you've got Bloom, who's a professional. Okay, let's get to the National Weather Service. Page County is in a severe thunderstorm warning.
You go, whoa,
And we're
whoa.
and I'm in the background like, whoa, we got debris.
We got
We got debris. We got a hook. Look at that radar indicating a tornado. Taylor County.
Somebody
Get
go
the
check
hell
on
to your basement.
Go check on Anita. Not Anita, but Anita is in the town.
Anita's a town, not a woman.
Yeah. Well, go check on Anita too.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're
shout
done.
out to Tim Wayne.
I'm over the weather for a little bit. So let's
My
chill out a
God.
little bit.
Well, I do feel this is going to be a short show too, by the way. But I feel for our farmers, a lot of ag folks in the Iowa State community that have been washed out, and hopefully they can, Hey, Aiden, real quick, your old man's a farmer. How's his crops doing over there?
Didn't hit Northeast Iowa as bad as everywhere else, so
Oh, good.
I don't think it's as bad, but I can confirm that they have not put planter away for the year, so they're not fully anticipating being out of the clear. But as of now, knock on wood, doesn't sound like
Well,
they have
I
to
know
replant.
as of a couple weeks ago, a bunch of my north central Iowa farmers were still struggling to get beans in. And it's like, God, it was getting late then, and now the washout, the whole thing sucks. I
don't envy farmers. I can't even
lot of
imagine
people-
my life being dictated by things I can't control.
Well, that's why you have
That's why I
Farm
run a
Bureau
collective.
insurance.
That's why I run a collective instead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard you say. So I want to pick your brain on these. So the House settlement goes through as we anticipated it would. We're gonna try not to bore you with this, but make this very. We're gonna dumb this down for you today. What does this mean exactly for Iowa State, and the future going forward, and all this stuff. And I did want to ask you real quick, is there any way we can get one of our players to sue an opposing head coach before the season starts, like this Georgia kid's doing? Could you imagine, like, an Iowa State wide receiver suing Kirk Ferentz? Or it's just what a wild era this is, and I'm glad it's getting to an end.
Same. I could share. We hope it's getting to. I think it. Actually, I feel really good about where we're going. I could share a couple schools that I could turn into the NCAA for tampering, but I'm not going to do that because nothing's enforceable. But so that's part of it, C-Dub. Everyone's like, well, what's going to change? And if this goes the way that I think it's going to go, the NCAA has survived. They have survived the onslaught, and so they're actually going to probably put some teeth into their enforcement mechanism because they're all going to have to agree to this situation. So no longer will you have these rogue things where the NCAA says, oh, we can't do anything. Because of these settlements, it'll probably help them add some more teeth to their enforcement, which would then regulate some of the tampering, some of the illegal stuff, which we'll get to.
Well, let's, again, we're going to try and dumb this down, and we're going to do it piece by piece. We've got 3 points here. We're going to talk about the timeline. I want to ask Bloom about how this impacts Title IX. I want to talk about the futures of collectives. We're always talking about Ames Lager and our friends over at Westo and all the good things. And I know I just texted with your wife. She's bringing a pizza oven and some of them good pizzas up to the George Strait tailgate coming up on Saturday.
If you're in Ames, check out the Hy-Vees. They're going to have a big old pyramid full of pizzas and beer.
Awesome.
Ames Lagers.
Awesome. And then, the biggest thing, how to stay competitive. And
right.
Shameless plug, I have been working on for 10 days, and I just haven't been able to finish it. And I also wanted this suit to get over with, kind of like my in-depth manifesto on, like, my think tank. This is, I don't know what else to call it, for Iowa State going forward. I hope to have that published by the time I go to George Strait on Saturday. That'll be for our premium subscribers. It'll be a long read, but I've been working on it for a while. So I'll have that as well with some more little nuggets that I've picked up on. So timeline, Brent. So we're going to start paying the players. We're going to start doing the revenue share. None of this is new. Did we learn anything about the timeline over the last week?
Not really, although you're seeing more and more that the hope is, at least from everything I've read, that it'll start fall of next year. So that would mean these schools are really going to have to get their act together fast. I had originally thought it would be fall of 2026, but this all could kick in fall of 2025. And so what does that mean? I'm going to guess your Monsters will still kick in the max, which is $22 million to its players. I bet a good portion of the Big 12 and the ACC don't go fully in right away because they
Really?
just, it's gonna, I really believe that. I think you're going to be closer for majority of your Big 12. And again, not everybody. Florida State and Clemson are a little bit different than Wake and Syracuse. Okay. Like you've got different levels here, but I'm going to guess some of those, not your top 30 schools, but maybe 30 to 60. I bet they dip in at $10 to $15 million because it's going to be hard for people to find $22 million right off the bat and rearrange the pie. So we'll see. But it's looking more and more from what I've read that they hope to have this done by where it's kicked in from the school starting in fall of 2025. So the football season 2025.
So how does
if I'm a betting man though, C-Dub, here's my nobody asks me. I bet it's 2026. I really do. I think there's going to be multiple hurdles that are going to delay things from now until 2025. I think the hope would be 2025, but something's gonna throw this thing off, and I still think 2026 is the target where compensation directly comes from schools.
Let me ask you this then. The transfer portal offseason is, let's say it's 2025.
Yep.
Like, are we still dealing with the craziness, or is it more like who comes?
Yeah.
Like, I know when does the new GM take over?
Yeah.
I guess is my.
It's going to have to be by December 1 of this year.
So then, transfer portal offseason next year, it's the whole new set of rules.
Yeah, and then I think you'll start to see, and this is what I'm super fascinated by, and you're going to see schools move really quickly. You're going to start seeing them move they're going to build up their, for lack of a better term, NIL GM department. Because what schools are going to have to do now, starting today and into the next couple of months is, first question, how much money do we want to spend? Second question, how do we want to split that up? Third question, who gets what? And this is where Title IX comes in too, because that's going to dictate a lot of this. But you are going to be able to now promise, because if Iowa State can start paying its players fall of 2025, you need to have that discussion with your football players December 1 when the portal opens, because you need to know what you're going to get next year. I mean, everything's a year in advance here. So I do think the portal, if it all goes quickly, will calm down as soon as December 1, because these guys and gals will know by December 1, okay, this is what our expectation is of what you will get next year. Do you want to stay or do you want to leave? You will not be able to sign that contract probably till July 1, 2025, but you're going to have an idea of what you're going to get if you want to keep your stability, your roster stability. Or your collective has to still be funded well enough in the interim to bridge the gap between January and July until you can officially start paying players. So I think the strategy starts now. Schools are already thinking, okay, what are we going to spend? How do we divide it up? And both football and basketball staffs are now thinking, okay, depending on what our budget is, how do we split it up? And they can do this now. They can absolutely do this.
They don't know what their budget is.
They don't. And that's where the Title IX thing comes in. Nothing can really happen until schools have an understanding of how much Title IX, aka how much do women's sports have to be involved with the amount of budget they do have.
And I've read and heard arguments to both sides here. Because does Title IX mean that they are entitled to money, or is it opportunity?
That's the
right.
literally
That's the right way to ask that.
That is legitimately the $10 million question.
Okay.
And at the settlement people are like, that's out of our hands. That's got to be decided by something else. So like, that is not our decision. I think a school like Iowa State may opt to be more conservative in that they don't want to be challenged in court for a Title IX infraction. So maybe they'll go closer to 50-50. Other schools may say, we're going to take the risk and we're going to give it, 85% men's sports. It's super interesting how this goes. And each school will have to decide until there is oversight from somebody above them, whether that's Congress or another lawsuit. The second part of this C-Dub, though, is if you go 50-50, you play the safe route and you go, all right, we have $20 million, $10 million to women's athletes, $10 million to men's athletes. Technically, then, your football and men's basketball players could go, wait a second, we're the ones that are earning the money. Yeah. We're going to sue now. So you could get sued on either side here. And so I think, schools like Iowa State will be very cautious to determine what their budget's going to be until somebody else does. So just from what I understand and how I kind of get the operation, Iowa State is not going to stick its neck out of determining budget and allocation until everybody else does.
It's not Pollard either. Like he feels to me like he'll be very conservative as far as the finances go here until there's more. And not just how to split it, but I'm saying how much they spend. I can't see Pollard being one of these ADs that's going to spend more than outspend the other guy. Nope. Like it's just not. It's never been the Iowa State deal to do that. Like it's never been that way from day one. Why would this era be different?
And then the other part about this that is super interesting is it's going to be up to the schools as far as what the contracts look like. There is a world where Iowa State may design as contracts, hey, you get X amount per year for 4 years, but then the other half of that comes when you graduate. So that way Iowa State protects itself from you must graduate to get your full compensation standpoint. Now, would that put you at a competitive disadvantage in the recruiting trail? Probably, because you're not getting upfront payment right away. You have to graduate in order to get that payment. But does that attract the type of athlete that Iowa State wants? Potentially. You could, though, then have your coaches
I don't like that. I think if they're going to get the money, they should be able to decide what to do with the money. In my opinion. That's just my opinion.
I'm just from a...
What if mom has cancer back home and you want to send her some checks? That's your money. You should be able to...
Yeah, but it's up to the school. It's the school has the contract. The school is making the payment, so they can design the contract however they want to. And that's the thing. This $20 million or $22 million, it's permissive, meaning schools do not have to spend a dime. They don't have to. They do not have to.
So you could, in theory, be like, we're going to be Drake non-scholarship football in the Big 12.
You still have your scholarship. You just don't get. You're just not going to pay your players.
Is there a possibility where these leagues, almost require these programs to spend to stay in the league?
Yes, and it might be the other way of the Big 12 might decide, hey guys, we're going to have a quote unquote understanding that we're all only going to do 15 million.
But they can't do that officially because that's collusion, right?
Well,
that's salary manipulation.
That gets there. There's a great point. Yes, potentially.
Listen to us.
I know, but this is exactly what these are the conversations that everybody's having right now. Nobody knows for sure. And so the Title IX piece is going to be the first domino that everyone tries to figure out. But in the meantime, behind the scenes, all of these schools are going to be ramping up their infrastructure to figure out when the green light comes on, how do we pay the players? What do those contracts look like? How friendly do we want to make these contracts? And you better make sure your coaches and your AD are on the same page, because this is going to be a huge sticking point for coach retention and recruitment is, well, not only is how much NIL money do we have, but how is that? What does the contract look like?
Because if you're offering $7 million to a football staff and now, because it used to be you go to these places, they have great geography. Well, that school's a hidden gem because of all the recruits around it. Well, if Iowa State is okay, football, you can have $5 million, or, oh wow, Vanderbilt is going to allocate 20 of its $22 million to football.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a reason a coach would leave now, where it used to be facilities, geography,
You got it.
all that crap.
You got it. And so you'll see certain schools with certain sports be strategic. If you think, hey, our advantage at Iowa State is in, just hypothetical, I'm just bringing up a sport here, men's golf. We want to win a national championship in men's golf. And that's a terrible example, but you get what I'm saying. Or, maybe the better example is wrestling. In men's basketball or wrestling. Yeah, wrestling. There you go. In wrestling, we're going to use a bigger percentage than any other school on our wrestling roster because we think that's our advantage here. You can do that now.
Well, that's tough for Iowa. If you think about the situation that they just got themselves into.
For sure.
When you have these niche sports that, although, you just said that, and I was thinking about it.
But then they don't have to. You technically don't have to spend any on on field hockey or something like that. Or what you'll see some AD departments do, they'll cut those sports entirely. That is also going to happen.
So if I'm a field hockey player,
I'm nervous.
Well, let's say I'm saved. Okay, Title IX or whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
I make the cut.
Yeah.
Or I'll put it localized. I'm an Iowa State volleyball player.
Yep.
Because we don't think they'll get cut, right?
No.
I don't see any way that. And I'm not getting any NIL money, or I'm not getting any of this $22 million athletic department dollars.
Correct.
But I get approached by Abercrombie and Fitch to be an endorser and an influencer for their clothing brand. I can still do that, right?
Because you didn't sign away your NIL rights to Iowa State. And you're right. Yes. So that is how schools are going to pay players. They are not going to be employees. They are going to buy their NIL rights, and they will most likely be exclusive to the school. So if you sign up with Iowa State and you get paid $100,000, Iowa State gets your NIL rights, and probably over a multi-year deal. So you are in. And if you try and leave, you can't get any NIL rights from anybody else. So that's why the portal calms down immensely, because you are locked into actual contracts that are governed by not just the NCAA, but contract law.
Actual lawyers and stuff, like judges,
and they'll have clawbacks in those contracts. But there again, C-Dub, then it becomes a recruiting advantage where some schools go like, hey, our contract's super player friendly. We might let you out of here a little bit easier than this school over here who wants 50% of your money if you leave. And your recruiting advantages move into legal stuff and payment. You're now just like any other job when you're recruiting. You have to look not only at the dollars, but what are the benefits? What does my non-compete look like? All of these things. I know non-competes are going away now, but you get the point. The next 9 months are going to be full of these discussions of how strict we want our contracts to keep us competitive, but also give us protection from all of our players leaving for more money.
I want to thank a couple of our sponsors. I gave him a shout out on Wednesday's show, but he's done such a good job for me, Colin Newell, during this whole flood thing. My friends at Farm Bureau Financial Services have been awesome, so thank you to them. I highly recommend you guys making sure you have the flooding, the backup, that sort of coverage when you sign up. And Colin, I think, signs everybody up with those here if you live in the state of Iowa. Jeff Kelderman down at Kelderman Manufacturing, of course. And I forgot to do this one on Wednesday. I apologize to our buddy Jeff Wood over at Gravitate Co-working. So what they are pitching now, so we've told you about all their offices and stuff for years now here on the podcast. They're now renting out conference rooms, essentially.
Nice.
They're really, really wanting to push this. You can basically, if you want to meet somewhere that's not Starbucks, where there's going to be 15 people listening and hanging out, you can do that at our friends at Gravitate Co-working. Check them out at gravitatecoworking.com. Last but certainly not least, our friends at the Iowa State University Foundation. We're it feels like my and Bloom scholarship idea for these sports media kids is picking up.
Pick it up.
I'm getting a lot of correspondence about this.
We had a heavy hitter text us that says, "Hey, I want to help." Heavy
former
hitter.
NFL player,
Former NFL player. Yeah, so that adds some cachet. That adds some. So yeah, I'm legitimately gonna make this happen. I'm excited about this, and this is the fun stuff that is meaningful to the donor as well as the kids.
Yes, absolutely. Our friends at the MoveWhatMatters.com with their friends at the Iowa State University Foundation. Also, of course, we thank Ames Lager, Cody Road, all of our great sponsors that we always love to promote here on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network. Our friends over at Terraplex Ag, you saw their ad as we got into the show. Of course, we were presented by the Mechdyne Corporation. And Wiffles hybrids as well. Plant your independence, plant Wiffles. No Big 12 segment here today. Again, this is all kind of like a Big 12 segment. But here we are, the plan. Okay, Bloom, Memorial Day weekend, everybody's driving. We don't want to make everybody scared about the future.
No, I wouldn't be scared at all.
I made the point to you before we started recording. I was talking to an old buddy of ours, Charlie McKenna, dirt racer, charging Charlie the old number, the blue 22, the double deuce. And I was kind of catching him up on all this, and it just kind of came to me because he isn't real up on all this. And I was like, I go, Charlie, it's really not different than any other time in your life when you're an Iowa State fan. Like, you're always kind of at a financial disadvantage and you have to just figure it out. And the more I've overthought all of this, which I tend to do, the more I just keep coming back to that. It's like, this is a challenge, but I actually think this is a more manageable challenge than the unequal revenue sharing days. And when, when your football was practicing in the lead rec center and all this stuff, like, to me, like, you have this foundation now, like, you're in a much better spot than you were back when we were in school.
I feel so much better about Iowa State's future place right now than I did 2 months ago, because it got so goofy in the portal, C-Dub, where it was getting to the point where it was impossible to keep up because the big schools just kept adding and adding and adding. And it got to the point where it was like, we cannot survive if it keeps going this rate. Now there's a cap, and a cap that has consequences, where last year there wasn't any. And we got by, truthfully, with great coaches, great leadership, and great kids who, honestly, they gave Iowa State a hometown discount, just to be straight up. And thank goodness for all of you who have helped the collective, and we need to keep at it until further notice, and for sure we'll let you know. By the way, it doesn't hurt because anything extra we have will immediately go to help in the new era of college athletics, whatever that looks like. But here's why I'm super optimistic. I think now Iowa State knows what the ground rules are. And once you know what you need to know, you can adjust. And there's going to be some interesting things where if you're really smart about this, the whole Moneyball theory, because scholarships are now open-ended for the most part, maybe, as Chris, you've talked about it, maybe you drop down to 75 scholarships in football. Maybe you get strategic some other places. Again, these are all the questions that need to be worked out. But I like Iowa State's chance if they know what they're up against. And as long as there's a cap in place and you have contracts that will commit the guys that you already have on your roster, it's not like Iowa State was going crazy in the portal anyway. And so if you can keep who you have, you're going to be good. And I just think, the other part of this that is super exciting if you're an Iowa State fan is the NCAA saved itself with this, because they just signed a 10-year deal that all of the power conferences agreed to, where the NCAA is paying most of this settlement in back pay. And so if the SEC and the Big Ten wanted to go start their own deal, well, they're on the hook for 10 years worth of damages that the NCAA is helping them cover. And so this gives us a 10-year window of things are going to be pretty stable, at least from, you don't have to worry about the Big Ten, the SEC just running away and creating their own division. I really believe that.
Yeah, I agree too.
Now you have, yes, will they have more money? Yes. Have they always had more money? Yes, it's just going to be allocated a little bit differently. And as long as you're at least competitive with your peers, and I'm going to guess the Big 12 is going to be pretty competitive with what everybody has, you have a seat at the playoff, and you know what you're up against, and you can plan accordingly, you're going to be okay. And give me smart people with less of a budget than dumb people with a huge budget every day of the week. Because
it's the United States of America.
The other part that these schools are running into, and they're up against it, is, and you just saw Arizona State, our friends at Arizona State, their president, who's the former Iowa Stater, by the way, just announced that the university is eating $300 million worth of its athletic department's debt. They just took it on today. They said it's gone now. So
wow.
Iowa State, $300 million. No, thank goodness for Arizona State that their university is doing well. Yeah, and it's huge. But that's what
one
Arizona.
Of the reasons why they're in the Big 12 now.
It is, but that's what Arizona State was up against, and their university literally just said $300 million, poof, it's gone. We really need to so that's what you're up against on the other end. Is yes, some of these schools have major debt problems that they're going to find out quickly. They don't have as much money as you think they do, but you're also going to see. The arms race is not going to slow down from that standpoint. Now that school can pay players, I do think maybe not the first year, but it's going to become where if you want to play, there's going to be a significant recruiting advantage, in my opinion, to getting all the way to that max number. And so that's what's going to be interesting for me to see is where in the Big 12 do these schools get to? And
Can
if you're Iowa
foundations
State,
give?
I don't know. I mean, right now, as it stands, there is a law in the state of Iowa that the athletic departments at Iowa and Iowa State can receive no university money. And I believe that means foundation money as well.
Okay.
Now, that I will need to check on. I'm
just saying, like, does the Cyclone Club just start getting you closer to that $22 million?
Yeah, I mean, where does Iowa State go from here? And then we'll kind of wrap things up. You need to keep, giving to the Cyclone Club. You need to keep buying season tickets. You need to keep doing those donations for parking, because now that money that you were giving the collective, and by the way, keep doing that until you're told that it's going away. And it might not go away, because C-Dub, here's the other part of this. There are schools, and I talked to a couple of them this week, that their football and basketball staff said, hey, you guys need to stick around because we want to pay over and above what our athletics program is doing. So how does that work? Well, maybe 40 of your football players are being paid by the school, okay, to get at that $22 million. And then these football staffs may tell their other 45 guys, hey, don't sign this contract. Our collective's going to take care of you on this end. And that's where it could get really hard for an Iowa State. There just isn't enough to go around.
Yeah.
And it's going to be extra confusing for donors. So it's like, well, where do I go? So
I would say that they need to nip that and like make that illegal, but legally, I don't think you can do that.
Well, and that's where they're going to try and do an enforcement mechanism to make it fair market value through NIL. And so you can't just have a booster give a quarterback $1 million because that's not value.
Audie Crooks is, we want her to do an appearance. This is what she's worth. And she'll get paid for that, not just for being on the roster.
Correct. So, so the appearance, maybe Audie's appearance fee, the fair market value is $20,000. It's not $500,000. And so as part of this new initiative, there's going to be a clearinghouse that looks at every other NIL outside deal to make sure it's allowed, which will hopefully nip that stuff in the, to make sure that somebody's not basically cheating the system. But all of this is to be determined how it plays out. I would guess from an Iowa State standpoint that they will lean more towards doing everything they can centrally as opposed to having an athletic department paying revenue and then a collective outside as well.
That's really been what Jamie's leaned into in the last 5 to 10 years too, is not he wants the fans to essentially be sent to the same place.
Correct.
As much as possible to keep them from being confused. Am I wrong there? That's the vibe I've gotten.
And I think that's the best way to go about it, because then it just eliminates a bunch of confusion. And you will still need to give at the same level or more because, again, Iowa State is going to have a new $25 to $30 million line item that they can't just do. So that it's not like you're going to stop and ask for money, but at least it's coming from one place, and it can now be connected to your tickets, your parking, your Cyclone Club points as well once we get there. But again, this will not kick in until fall next year at the earliest. So until then, please keep contributing to the We Will Collective as well as what you're doing for Iowa State, because we need to keep paying the guys until it goes under the university and potentially beyond that, depending on what direction strategically Iowa State chooses to go.
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
you've been an awesome resource. I'm being serious. Like you live this, so it's been I hope we're dumbing it down for people who don't really know much about this, but they can learn and be more educated and better for Iowa State in the future. That's
I guess at the end of the day, rest assured that there are really good people that have Iowa State's best interests in mind working on this. And if you gave me this current scenario as opposed to last year's scenario or even the realignment scenario, Texas and Oklahoma, I feel so much better about Iowa State's future in college athletics over the next 20 years than I did at any of those points. And I think Iowa State's going to be okay. But what I ask of all of you is keep spreading the good word, keep buying the Ames Lager, keep doing all those things, because the more we have, the easier it's going to be to transition once it does go over to athletics. And so just a real quick, couple quick plugs. If you go to our website under the events tab, we do have a couple outings. One in Okoboji that will also be a CF Roadshow in July. And yes, we also have a golf outing over in the Dubuque area also at the end of July. And signups are available right now and certainly help us to budget and plan and all that good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, and then come out and say hi to us if you guys see us out at the George Strait concert. We will be out in the RV lot.
We'll be there. Look for us. I'll have all of Ames Lager for anybody who stops by.
Are you gonna have some out there?
I'm gonna buy a bunch.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna try to. So Hy-Vee and Ames will have
Hy-Vee and Ames is your best spot. Yep.
Okay. All right.
And you get some We Will pizzas are also on sale, and you get I think it's a 20-cent fuel saver for each, which is great.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Have a very safe Memorial Day travel out there. Hopefully weather calms down for everyone. We appreciate you watching, listening. Again, no show on Sunday. I'm going to be out of town. I believe you're doing a summer series business pod with Jacqueline Cordova next week that will make up for our Wednesday podcast, and then we'll be back on schedule after that. For Brent Blum, I'm Chris Williams. Have an awesome day, everyone.